Hi everyone, my name's Amanda D. Today I wanted to show you some things that you can do with a stick in your yoga classes with your students. So here I have two types of sticks. I have a long one, it's a little bit thicker, and a short one. And you can find these in any hardware store. You can even use the broom of a brush. Sometimes, well, before I bought these sticks, I have quite a few now, I would just use the broom handle, so that works perfectly. So how I use these in classes with my students is in this way. So a lot of the time I try to explain how to find a natural lumbar curve when doing flexion of the hip. So this is flexion of the hip, right? And this is extension of the hip. So when we're doing flexion of the hip, as in stretching our hamstrings, and you'll also be stretching the glutes there, a lot of students will round the spine and kind of hang forward like this. So this stick is amazing. It will teach that natural position of the spine. So if they hold the stick behind their head and they make one hand at the top, like a fist shape, and put that against kind of where the occiput is, it's where the neck spine meets the skull. There's kind of a ridge there. And then the other hand is touching the sacrum bone. Now the third point of contact is the middle back, like kind of the lower rib area. As the student folds forward, a little softness in the knees, the belly is engaged, so the belly pulls in and up. If they start to round in the lower back, the lower hand will move away from the sacrum bone like this. So this will help them to understand, because sometimes when you're not used to doing this, it's hard for you to feel that in the body. So then they go to the point as far as they can go, keeping the head touching the stick as well, which will stop that kind of ketosis, forward head carriage position. And then for the hyper mobile people, the advanced yogis, sometimes they do too much of a rib flare. You see the lower ribs are dropping down, and then my thoracic spine comes away from the stick. So just keeping those 3 points of contact. Another thing you can do with these sticks is use it like you would a strap. So a lot of the time the students kind of cheat and they kind of wrinkle up the strap to do this kind of thing. But with a stick, it makes it hard for them to do that. So they start with their hands wider than the shoulders. They keep the lower ribs knitted in. Then they reach forward, they separate the shoulder blades, so those shoulder blades are protracting. Then the arms lift up and they really reach up from under the armpits. And then from there, if they can't get the hands back, all they need to do is separate the hands a little bit more until they can. And then they go up and forward. And this is just a stretch for the pectoral muscles across the chest there. And as the body warms up, you can bring the hands a little bit closer. But the elbows need to stay straight and the sides of the neck need to draw back. So the chin comes down, keeping the neutral position of the neck. And of course, you can find the point where you feel the most stretch and just kind of hold it there. And then if they move the neck side to side, that will release muscles called the levator scapula next to the neck, and that will relax the neck. So the inner shoulders can go down and the outer shoulders can reach up more. Lower ribs in. So another variation you can do is to teach people how to lengthen the underside of the body. Again, beginners, when they start to do Trikonasana pose, they'll kind of round and go into lateral flexion in the spine. So the heels are aligned, the front toe is pointed forward, that back toe is rotated in slightly. External rotation of the front leg, the kneecap lifting. Now all they do is they reach up high on the stick, and then they start to move this hip, this front hip, away from the stick. So it goes lower than the back hip. So you'll see that's a little bit lower. And you just direct moving away. And then it stretches the underside of the body. And then they'll get a feeling of what triangle pose should feel like, lifting the kneecaps. You can also use it to find the extension in the thoracic spine in triangle. Again, you'll find beginners will kind of round forward like this. And this also feels amazing if you're an advanced student, because you can get a really nice stretch in this top shoulder. So the stick will go under the armpits, behind the kind of thoracic spine where the bra strap is. Then you just hold the stick. Okay, in the same position of the legs in triangle, and bring the low part of the stick to the floor next to the foot. They lift the kneecaps. If they bend this elbow kind of and wrap it behind the stick, they'll get more of a stretch through the chest. Of course, you can go as low as you like with this lower hand. That will get more into the inner hamstring. And then all they're trying to do is kind of back bend over the stick behind them. Now with Revolve Triangle, I like to have this one over the neck. Have the right foot in the right side of the mat, the left foot on the left side of the mat. Now the hands go behind and over the top of the stick. Now you can adjust this depending on how flexible the hamstrings are, so you can slide it more towards that left hand if needed to get it to the floor. Now, if they're very new to this and they don't have that much rotation, they can have the stick in line with the back foot, but as they start to open through the chest and they get more rotation, they can kind of hop that stick in front of the front foot. Then they want to pull that front hip away from the stick, so it goes in the opposite direction of the stick. And they can lean back into the stick, pressing the back of the neck towards the stick to open a little bit more. Balancing becomes easier with a stick, but it's not like holding onto the wall. It's less stable, so you still have to work with your own balance. Now, if I'm going to do tree pose with my right foot, I want the stick in front of my left foot. And then hugging that outer left hip in. So if I turn to face you, so you can see, so you hug that left outer hip in, so the hip points level to the floor. Then they can work on lifting this foot any height to the inner thigh, the inner calf, the ankle. If they want to make it even easier, they could do that. So it would be the same leg. So this is my right leg. I would have the stick in front of the tree leg. And that's going to make it even easier. Then you just have to reach down with the opposite hand to grab the ankle. So the first variation is a little bit harder, but it makes it easier than doing it without the stick. And this position is a little bit more easier. I love this one. This is quite advanced. This is not really for beginners because they can fall, and usually the hamstrings, they don't have the flexibility in the hamstrings. So you can bring the foot against the stick. Sometimes I don't have enough wall space in the studio. And also this is a little bit less stable. So they have to work with their own core strength. And they can start to learn the process of how to kind of fold forward. It's better to have a little micro bend in that lower leg in this pose, the hand to big toe position. On the floor, we can also do it standing. You can find a lat stretch just by holding the stick, having the knees under the hips, lifting the lower ribs, and then trying to reach the head down to the floor. So it's better to lift the low ribs, and then you get more of a stretch through the latissimus dorsi muscles. Then there's also seated positions. I'm just going to grab a block for this one. So you sit on a block. That just allows you to lift up in the lower back. The stick goes onto the inside of the foot. It goes behind the back, around the thoracic area. And then you can reach that back hand towards the back of the stick. And again, I like to bend the elbow, so that helps me to move the shoulder head back. And lift it up just behind the bra line. Flexing that front foot. If you want to increase this stretch, you can take the arm around that bent knee. You can take it to the outer elbow. And then push the knee and the arm together as you press this backhand into the stick to turn, turn, turn. That just helps to create more thoracic extension and rotation. Again, with beginners, sometimes it's hard for them to understand how to extend through the spine to fold forward, and they end up just dumping into the lower back and rounding. So they need to sit on a block, and then they put the end part of the block, the stick, against the block. Then they reach the arms up as high as they can. Strong legs, feet flexed. And they try to reach forward, and then they'll feel that extension through the spine. And sometimes I'll do this for them. I'll just bring the stick and I'll kind of pull on the top end and kind of pull them forward gently. It's probably a new feeling to them, but they can also do this on their own. And that can be in any position, right, with the legs wide, or they can do it in Baddha Konasana, Torasana, any position to help them try to find that length through the spine. Let's do some on the back. So on the back, I like this one with the legs wide. And then the stick goes behind the ankles, the feet are flexed, and then they can open the legs as wide as possible for them, keeping the sacrum bone down. And then they can control drawing the legs towards them, any amount, keeping the sacrum bone down. Now for your advanced students, the advanced students can lift the head and bring that stick into the crook of the elbows, keeping the back of the neck long. And I can't do this, but if you were super flexible, you could thread your head underneath the stick and then bring that stick behind your back. And then your toes would be touching the floor. So that's also another option there. To stretch just the hamstrings, you can place the foot onto the stick this way, keeping the natural lumbar curve. And this will keep the distance of the thigh close to the belly, which is a little bit better for the back. And then they'll only be able to straighten as much as they can. And those who are super flexy can straighten all the way. You can also straighten this front leg. Okay, that's all for today. If you'd like to see more, let me know. I've got plenty. I can do this for maybe like 3 hours. So if this was interesting to you, let me know and I'll make another video. Thank you. Bye.